Welcome back, cruisers, to All Aboard with Joe. I am Joe, and this is a very exciting video because this is going to be my first React video on this channel. Now, the way I see this working is very simply, I'm going to take a video from another cruise content creator, not the entire video, just little pieces of it, and I'm going to commentate my thoughts and just overall opinions on what the video is about. Now, to kick off this video, I wanted to honor two of my favorite cruise vloggers, cruise content creators. They are Cruise with Ben and David. I'm sure if you follow anything about cruising on YouTube, you've seen these two. They are a fantastic couple and just amazing content creators. So the first video I'm going to do is their recent review of the Sun Princess. Now, I'm very excited to review the first Sphere class ship from Princess Cruises, but unfortunately, I haven't been invited yet, or I just haven't had time to book because I have so many other things going on in my life. So this is why I want to do React videos, is I'm able to take a video that's already been done and share my personal opinion on it, which I hope you enjoy enough to stick through the entire video. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button and of course, hit the like button. So without further ado, let's get into the first React video and let's see if we can make this an ongoing series.
This week, join us aboard the world's newest mega cruise ship as we give you our full brutal review.
Jealous.
We score everything from the food, entertainment, and the ship itself. Prepare to hear about the good, the bad, and the ugly of this cruise ship.
I'm blooming starving.
We're not too sure where it is. We keep getting lost.
Oh, well, this is one of the things we'll talk about later on, guys. We are so lost all of the time. Even after a week on board, we just don't know where anything is because it's a brand new ship and nothing like Princess has done before. So it's so unfamiliar that we just keep getting lost. But that's always us. Ships are big these days. And this.
So that's actually something I'm extremely excited for. So in the video, they, I already watched this video and I wanted to rewatch it just as a refresher. But one of the most exciting things about a new cruise class is that usually it's quite different than other classes. And that's part of the excitement for anyone that is, let's say, a diehard fan of a brand. So if you're like a huge Princess Cruises fan, you most likely will be excited the fact that this cruise class is going to be quite different. Obviously, they seem like they're saying they're lost. They keep getting lost. But I'll be honest with you, very rarely are people actually upset about that. It's a little bit frustrating. And actually, later in the video, they do get a little bit lost trying to get to the sanctuary. But it's not like it's ruining their vacation. It's ruining their time. You know what I mean? But they do make a note that it does get a little confusing because even though there's a lot of great technology on board, they are constantly running into issues of getting lost despite with all the technology around. So that's normal. So if you're new to cruising, that might seem off-putting, but it's really not. I mean, these cruise ships are huge and there's a good chance that you're going to not even see parts of the ship until like the end of your cruise. It happens all the time.
Here in the main dining room, we've been sat next to a window and it looks really lovely outside. We've got a lovely view of
Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh, we've just bought some pastries as well, which look very, very tasty. David, those look absolutely massive. Anyway, very surprising, guys. So we came down, got the menu, and it's an express port day breakfast before, which we haven't seen before. So yeah, this seems to have changed. So because we have a port, basically, well, we do have a port every single day now for the next.
Okay, so I have a little bit of opinion on that. Not exactly super negative. It's a little bit of a mixed mash, so it's going to be all opinion based here. So just bear with me. First off, the pastries on the table now, they didn't address if they asked for those pastries, and let me explain why I'm even saying that. So, from my understanding, because we got to be careful with germs, right, and just mingling just germs with everyone else, whatever, especially on a cruise ship. I don't love that they may or may not have just put the bread or the pastry basket right on the table. And I'll tell you why. From my understanding, whenever they put that on the table, like a bread, let's say you're at dinner and they put like the giant bread basket down, once it's on your table, that's not going to be brought to another table. Like that is yours now. So hypothetically, if they don't eat all those delicious looking croissants, those are just going to go in the trash. And I'm a big wasteful, like I don't like to waste food at all. Like it kind of irks me. And especially on cruises where notoriously people kind of like indulge a little bit too much, or maybe they think that they can eat all this food and they have to just throw it out. I hate that. So I don't love that the pastry basket just got on the table. So they didn't address, and I'm not, blaming the staff there, but Ben and David didn't exactly say that they asked for that basket. They made it seem like they just put it on the table. So that's kind of a little bit of frustrating thing if you're not wanting to waste food. And then for the port day kind of selection, the lack of there, I should say, breakfast selection, I kind of like, and I'll explain. So I'm a I'm gonna wake up in the morning, go to the gym, and then go get coffee. And this is on cruise ships too, not just at home. So for me, I don't need a giant breakfast unless I know I'm gonna have a huge excursion port day where I'm gonna be out for a long time and I need to have fuel. Um, and I know Ben and David, if you watch them, they love their breakfast, and I love watching them eat, even though I don't eat as much as they do on breakfast. Like I love watching people eat. It's kind of weird, but I kind of like the less is more because, like I said, I'm just a coffee person, but I do like my occasional breakfast. And to be honest with you, I don't really want going back to the wasteful of food. I wouldn't want a huge buffet that I'm only going to have like a little piece of, I don't know, some cheese and maybe a croissant or something. But for those out there that love to have an indulging breakfast, apparently you can order off the menu a little bit. But I think I like what Princess is doing here because what they're trying to do is limit the waste, I think. I mean, I'm assuming that's what it is. I haven't talked to one of the executives yet, but it sounds like that's what they're trying to do. So that's really a good thing. I think that's a positive note. But I'll say this. According to Ben and David, they spoke with someone at Princess, and the Sun Princess being a new, it's kind of an experimental class. It's their new class of ship, Sphere class. Apparently, they're going to be doing this fleet-wide. So on port days, they're going to do like a limited breakfast menu in the main dining there, which, like I said, I think that's fine because most people want to get out on shore and explore and do an excursion. So I guess it's not that big a deal. But I just wanted to give you a little my opinion on why I think it's a positive thing, but some might really have a problem with that. And I can also see why.
So let's give the cabin a review. Overall, 5 out of 5. Absolutely love them. Spacious, comfortable, bright, no complaints.
So
Awesome.
we are.
I just have to say, I'm a huge fan of Princess Suites. Obviously, I've never been on this class of ship, as I've said, but I love Princess ships and their suites. I am so excited to review the suites on Princess Cruises, on specifically the Sun's Princess, because one of the things that they show in their video, like I said, go watch their entire room tour, their entire video. But one of the things I want to touch on that's huge, not just as a content creator, but anyone with technology, which we all do these days. Like, we all have these devices that we literally can't live without. So for example, the new iPhones, the iPhone 15 Pros are USB-C. And in their video, they show that there are a plethora of outlets, in specifically USB and USB-C. So I don't need to carry the amount of converters I normally have, like on that ship. For example, I typically will bring like 2 to 3 extra like converters for like USB or USB-C because a lot of times there's no direct USB-C outlets. A lot of times I'll charge from my computer, which has USB-C inputs, and things like that. But other than that, obviously that's plugs aside, and I'm a content creator, so obviously I need that more than most. The thing I love to see in that video is that, Ben and David are pretty tall guys. I'm a small guy, but Ben and David are both pretty tall. So what I love is that they were basically saying that they are very comfortable in the room. It's very spacious, and like I think that's huge because even though I'm a small guy, like I do find that sometimes cruise ships feel a little bit constrained. Like you feel like a little bit tight, and that's pretty common. But because they're such tall guys and they feel very comfortable moving around the room, I think that's fantastic. So it seems like the Sun Princess, at least the suite they're in, is very spacious. So that's a huge thumbs up. I also love how bright it is and the overall technology in the room. The TV, they go into depth about the technology later, which we'll touch on. But specifically, the TV just has so much tech in it, like ready to go for you to enjoy your cruise and find what you need. I think that's really great. And then overall, just the brightness of the room, and that's more just like a personal preference. I think it's pretty fantastic. The one thing that David comments on is he doesn't love the night lights. Apparently, the sensors are very sensitive. So like if he drops his pillow in the middle of the night, the light will turn on. It's really made for if you have to get up and use the restroom at night, the lights will turn on. I personally think that's a great feature because I find that like I was just on Holland America Line, the Rotterdam, and it's a fantastic ship, by the way. But I got up in the middle of the night and I felt like I was going to stumble. I had to like basically watch what I was doing walking through the room so I didn't like stub a toe or like fall over or hit the wall or something. So anyways, I think the suites look pretty solid. Pretty happy about that.
Go and enjoy. We need a sanctuary after that.
They're going to the
So
sanctuary.
we're finally here in the sanctuary. Oh my gosh, it is huge. It's very, very lovely. It's actually got a big old pool and lots of
no
hot
one
tubs.
there.
I think I say 1, maybe 2, 3 hot tubs. 2 or 3 hot tubs. A lot bigger than the normal sanctuary. I think you can access this as well if you're in one of
That's
the
wild.
suites as well, which is a new thing here on Princess. But guys, I need to get into that hot tub. I'm desperate. So let's go and jump in, shall we? It's such a lovely day.
Crazy.
It's so quiet. Perfect.
the sanctuary, apparently, as Ben mentioned, that the sanctuary is a place that's it's an additional cost unless you're part of a certain suite. Now, here's my issue. I think he said in the video it's $99 a person to go to the sanctuary if you're not in one of those suites. So I'm just trying to think, like, okay, if the main pool is busy and you really want to get away from the main pool with all the chaos and you need something a little more private, then $99 a person for the day, that's not bad. So I'm assuming you're with a plus one, most likely. That's $200. Okay. Later in the video, him and Ben and David both eat. They have like these like exclusive bento boxes, which look delicious, by the way. And they say like, oh, it's included with the sanctuary. But once again, is it included? Because you're paying the $99 per person. So really it's not included. But like I said, I don't know. I'm like battling between like the extra costs. I feel like a lot of people when they go on a cruise, the last thing they want is hidden costs, right? But I don't know. I think $99 might be worth it if it's kind of like an excursion, like you're paying for an excursion in a way, except on the boat. So I have this uh this weird black and white area. Like I can't find the gray area of how I feel about spending extra on the cruise. Does that make sense? Because I'm a drink package kind of guy. I like to just go in knowing that I have the drink package. I don't have to worry about extra fees when it comes to having a cocktail, having wine, or maybe coffee whenever I want. So for me, it's like, yeah, I paid for that, but at the same time, I just don't have to worry about the aftermath of the bill. So yeah, the sanctuary, is it worth it? I would personally recommend, and they actually both say this as well. I would just say on port days, take advantage of the main pool because usually people are off the boat anyways, and the pool is just barely being used. So there's like some like hidden tips there that I think a lot of people that maybe they're not avid cruisers that don't know about. So hopefully that's a tip for you. Is just as much as it sounds like common sense, a lot of people don't think like, oh yeah, everyone's at port. The pool should be basically empty. And that's usually the best time to do it. Because imagine if you paid for the sanctuary $99 and then you go to the main pool and you're like, oh, wait, there's no one there. I could just be there. So unless you really want those bento boxes, which I don't think are that special, maybe avoid paying $99 for the sanctuary. That's just me.
One more deck and have some food. I'm starving. I do actually fancy pizza, so I'm okay with that.
I
Are we
love
going the
pizza
right
on
way,
cruises.
David?
I can smell
They're
it.
usually
so
pretty
yes,
good.
Here we are.
Oh, it's just in front of us.
So
I've
we've
never
got
had
our
Alfredo's.
Orders in. If you do not
Okay.
have a package, the price is $14.99, and that includes a starter, a pizza, and a dessert.
That's
or
not bad.
you can buy them individually as well.
So that's not bad. You know, Princess Cruises, every cruise line they're always ramping up their packages, like their drink packages, their food packages. I'm not gonna lie, it's complicated. It's very hard to keep up with. So a lot of times before you cruise, I recommend doing your research. But I'm not gonna lie, like $14.99 for a appetizer, a pizza or calzone, and a dessert is pretty solid. I mean, later on, let me skip ahead because like I said, I've already seen this. Like later on, if you look at the food, like look at this calzone. Look at this calzone. I make calzones. I make strombolis. That is a good looking calzone. He got, I think it was like ham, red onion, cheese, of course. And he said it's amazing. It looks amazing. But even further, if you want pizza, look at this pizza. Look at this. I'm not going to go into it. You know, I'm not like a pizza, expert by any means, but I do like my pizza. This looks like a good pizza. And then also he even mentions the crust, eating the crust, and he's like, this is really good crust. And honestly, as someone who is obsessed with pizza, and every time I go on a cruise, I always have pizza because I feel like they do it really well. And it's usually 24/7, which is just on a whole nother level. Now, they both mentioned that apparently there's free pizza on one of the decks. But it's like by the slice. And to be completely honest with you, I wish I saw them review it. Maybe it's going to be in another video, but I would pay $8.50 for this because this pizza by itself, if you didn't get like the appetizer and the dessert, it's $8.50. You can easily split this. It looks huge. It does not look like a little personal pizza. It looks like it's big enough for 2 or 3 people, especially if you're not trying to be eating a whole pizza. But yeah, pizza on cruise ships are actually phenomenal, and Alfredo's looks like they have a really good setup. So I'm excited to try that. What you're about to see, sorry for freezing on a still of him like that. He's probably going to kill me. he's about to talk about how they actually ran into a contractor on board, because remember, this is early sailing, so a lot of times a lot of the the cruise manufacturers are on board making sure things are working. He's about to talk about how some of the ship is not done, and that's been an ongoing issue. At least I've heard from colleagues in the space, content creators and cruising, that people that have done the ship have loved it, but there's a lot that's not ready. So let's see what he says here.
We see and have heard a lot of it still is unfinished, a lot of the ship and the entertainment and things. So we got talking to somebody from the shipyard and a contractor on board, and he was saying areas like this are a little bit unfinished. For example, all of the lights down the side of the piazza, they're supposed to change and things, but he was saying they didn't have time to install them, so they're going to be installed at a future dry dock. Plus the
Yeah, the reason I find this is so important is because, and this is why cruise content creators are so important for people, because listen, if you book your cruise and you're not like me, like I travel for a living, like outside of doing this channel, which is exclusively about cruising, I'm a lifestyle and travel content creator, like for joesdaily.com. That's my personal website. I've done that for over 14 years. This is so important for people that save up all their money and they want to go on the best vacation ever, and then they go and they feel like they were let down by the brand. Now, this is not knocking Princess Cruises. Listen, whenever there's a new class ship out there, it doesn't matter if you're Princess Cruises, it doesn't matter if you're Royal Caribbean or Celebrity or Region 7 Seas, there's gonna be issues. And a lot of people have talked about Sun Princess having, shows aren't ready and yada, yada, yada. So hopefully, and they mentioned this in their video, in a month or two, when they can get another couple sailings out, a lot of this stuff is fixed. The shows, a lot of the shows aren't even performing right now. So like they have such an amazing theater on board, but like no one's even watching the shows. So I can't imagine how upsetting that would be for someone that paid a lot of money to be on this vacation and they can't even enjoy the entire ship. Like it almost seems like, if I was to put a number on it, it seems like about the ship is 70% complete. Just the way I hear people talking about the shows, some of the eateries, the design, stuff like that. Would I think it's still a good vacation? Absolutely. But that's something you need to consider because you're spending a lot of money on this vacation.
Basically, we did terribly on that one. We got 10 out of 20, which is rather embarrassing. But we got some cocktails. I got a lovely pink rosemary raspberry breeze. Try saying that 10 times after you've had one of these. It's really nice. It's a Grey Goose peach.
Maybe that was a bad one to freeze on. Let's freeze on that one. So earlier in the video, and I've actually heard this from one of my friends who's actually a spirits writer. So he's a spirits and travel writer, and he was invited on Sun Princess. Apparently, Sun Princess has over 200 new cocktails. Now, I don't know. I think that's a little excessive. I'm not mad about it. I think I love that they're thinking outside the box, and we'll talk a little bit more on that later. But I think that what they're trying to do in the food and spirits is pretty awesome. And the 200 new cocktails is a lot. Like it really is. Like, I mean, they probably had to hire many mixologists to make that a reality. And me, I don't drink as much as I used to, full transparency, but I do like my occasional cocktail. Now, I'm a martini guy. I love wine. Usually I don't go for drinks like this because usually it's got a high sugar content and I'm not trying to drink a lot of sugar. But I will say this, when I'm on a cruise, I love trying new things. So I am very eager to get on board and at least try maybe 10 of the new cocktails. I will never do the 200, but there's a lot of new cocktails on board. And I think that each of the various spaces on board, the various bars, restaurants, have unique cocktails to their area. Like, for example, I'm sure there's a really fun whiskey cocktail at O'Malley's. I think it's O'Malley's Pub. Is that what it's called? The Irish pub. But anyways, this looks beautiful. Definitely eager to try some of this stuff. And if you're not a drinker, maybe you don't care, but this seems really exciting. So I think they're about to go get more cocktails because why not, right? I mean, you're cruising. Enjoy yourself, right?
This is making us feel very floaty and happy indeed. Anyway, we're going to head somewhere else.
That's why we did so badly. That's our excuse.
That's our excuse. That's why we got 10 out of 20. Anyway, we're going to head to the Good Spirits bar where they put on a performance now and again, and we're going to have a look at some of the cocktails there. So should we head over?
I kind of fancy the Bad Spirits bar, Ben.
Oh, right, do you want a bad spirit? Good spirits are better. The tables light up and change colour.
Ben just
That's
let
cool.
out the loudest. Ooh! Just does that happen?
All of the tables are changing colour, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Love this.
So this isn't next to the atrium like on the other ships. It's its own little bar that we've literally just found. We've not seen it.
As well, but it's all its own venue on this ship, which is pretty cool.
This is really exciting to me. As someone who I've worked on all aisles of media and marketing, this is genius because here's the thing. People love learning how to make cocktails. Like I've been on so many cruise ships, river cruises, ocean cruises, and every time there's like some kind of like bubbly class, cocktail class of anything, people love it. They love learning a little bit and then enjoying it while they're sipping their cocktail or the creation they made or learning how to do it. So this is really neat. This to me, I wouldn't say is super unique, meaning they're not the first people to do this, but their layout, like what you're seeing here with this mixologist here, the beautiful background bar, the beautiful lights, the beautiful tables, like everything they got going on here is fantastic. And I think this is where Princess Cruises is really going after the younger demographic, which I'll get into that later because there's a little bit more I want to talk about that. But I think what they're doing here is very smart. It's a beautiful set. I'm going to call it a set because it looks like a set. And yeah, good on you, Princess Cruises. This is great. I'm really excited to experience this.
So next up, let's give our review of the technology on board. Now, this is definitely one of the big highlights on Princess Cruises.
Can't agree more.
There is
Couldn't agree
technology
more.
everywhere with the medallion from the screens behind me, from the television screens in your room, the screen outside of your room, to the app especially. Guys, it's got so much better. It did have a few wobbles back a few years.
I want to talk about this really quick specifically. So obviously I wanted to touch on the technology on board. So first off, before we go into actually this, up until a few years ago, the best technological brand, in my opinion, which I think a lot of people would agree with me, is Royal Caribbean International, because they handle Royal Caribbean, of course, and also Celebrity Cruises. And every time you use their apps, you felt like they got it. It felt like their app was like, this was made for a cruiser. You know what I mean? And they were fun to use. Like they just weren't clunky. Like I love all these cruise lines and what they try to do, but like I said, I was on Rotterdam, Holland America, and their app is just very clunky. It's getting better, but it's clunky. What I love about Princess Cruises, what they're doing is they're really trying to up their game. Now, this exactly isn't new to Sun Princess, what you're seeing here, which is the door unlocking. So basically when you're wearing your Princess medallion, it's a wristband, as you walk up closer to your door, it unlocks for you. That's why it says door unlocked. He didn't scan this. It automatically senses you're nearby and it unlocks the door. Even further, and I don't think they touch on it in this video, but I'm going to touch on it. I remember when I first experienced the magic of the Princess medallion, I walked up to a bar, one of my favorite bars on board. And as I walked up, I didn't notice it the first time, but I could see the computer screen where the bartender was. And all of a sudden my face popped up. And I believe, if I wasn't mistaken, it also showed up in my last few orders. So they knew, oh, he might want another dirty martini. And I think that's a really cool technological feature that I think a lot of brands will implement somewhat soon, if not already. Anyways, so the technology on the cruise ship, according to Ben and David, once again, I haven't been on it, but you know, everything from the elevators, the screens, the TV in the room, the application, there's quite a bit. They did say that the application has some things that they thought lacked or they didn't notice on the app. For example, I think like the daily planner wasn't on there, which I thought was a little odd, which I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm not denying them, but because I mean, they're the most expert cruisers I know in the space. I think they've cruised more than most people. But I'd be shocked that the daily planner is not on the app. That's very odd. But anyways, Princess, if you're watching this, make sure you fix that because that's kind of weird and silly that you don't have that.
Oh, so we just did something amazing. We went to see the brand new Spellbound. Wow, guys, we didn't film much because we absolutely do not want to ruin this. It's sort of a magical evening, which starts off with a 3-course meal, and then you go through to a bar area with unlimited drinks, and these drinks are incredible. Here's a few pictures of them now. You get to see some magic shows, and you go through to a full-on proper magic show in a little group.
Good.
It's $149 per person. It does seem...
So the $149 per person, going back to pricing, like we were talking about pricing earlier with the Sanctuary, I would say avoid the Sanctuary personally and do that instead. Why? Because you're getting a full meal and a show. And fun little fact, because I know a lot of you don't know who I am or they don't know anything about me, but I actually used to work for David Copperfield back in the day. So I used to fly from Los Angeles to Vegas. I'm not going to go into that because that's not what this channel is about. But I have a very special place in my heart for magic and performers. And Spellbound, I believe it's actually called Spellbound by Magic Castle. And if you know anything about Magic Castle, that is literally like the exclusive magic club based in Hollywood for magicians. So the fact that they collaborated with Princess Cruises is very special and very cool. And I've also seen some really cool cocktails come out of Spellbound from, like I said, cruise content creators. And it looks like a lot of fun. So me personally, especially as someone who's a content creator and loves magic, I want to do that really bad. So you better believe when I'm on a Sphere class ship, assuming they have it on every other Sphere class ships, assuming I don't get on Sun Princess, definitely want to do that. So maybe on Sun Princess or maybe on Star Princess, the one that's coming out in 2025.
Food a 4 out of 5. We are just knocking that 1 point off for the lack of choice, really, in the buffet and at that breakfast.
The grand reveal. So this is it, guys. The overall score versus who do we think it's for? Well, it's for Princess Cruises, who already like Princess Cruising. On those who would like a little bit more of a modern twist on Princess Cruises, it's definitely aimed at younger people as well.
Okay, so I'm going to end on this last note. This will be the outro here, and my thoughts. So I feel like Princess Cruises, I've sailed on probably 7 Princess Cruise ships, and I was always under the impression that it was more for an older audience. That was until I started sailing on Holland America. Now, I like Holland America a lot. Great food, great people, great ships. But the audience is substantially older on Holland America line. Now, does that mean you have a less time? I'm personally 37 years old. Do I have less fun on these ships? No. Just because I'm younger? No, not at all. But I'll say this. With what I've seen coming out of Sun Princess and the Sphere class ships, it looks like they are trying to cater to a younger audience, which makes me very happy. And when I say younger, that doesn't mean they're pushing out the older crowds. It's just that they're adding things that make it more family friendly. Family friendly. For example, one thing I didn't show in this video because I didn't think it was very important. They had like a ropes course, which is very a la like Carnival Cruises, which I'm not a fan of that, but it looked pretty cool. Unfortunately, it was closed, so you didn't see. That's why I didn't show it to you. Is because basically they filmed it and they were like, "Well, it's closed. No one's even there." So that's just another thing not finished, but families would very much like that, right? It gives their kids activities, and you don't have to be a child to enjoy that. I mean, I've done ropes courses on Carnival Cruise Lines, for example, and they're fun. I mean, they're not just for kids, but what I'm saying is it's attracting a younger audience, people that maybe want to experience those types of things. Also, there's like kids clubs and stuff like that. So, do I think that Princess Cruises go in the right direction? I think so. That's my personal opinion. I think that, I mean, I've always been a fan of their food. I've always been a fan of their ships, fan of their cafe, their drinks. I think closing out this video, if I was to rate the video that I just watched, which was rating the thing, I would say I would definitely just give this ship a 4 out of 5. I'm very eager to review it myself firsthand, and I hope that this react video, you got something out of it. What I will say though, closing out 100%, is that I want these videos, these react videos, to be educational from my point of view, but most of all, I want you to go watch their full video. Trust me, if you're at work and you need something to watch in the background, I love Ben and David. I watch their videos all the time and I want to support them. So please go subscribe to them. If you're not already, go watch their entire video. Link is in the description below. And that's it for today, guys. If you guys like this video and you're new here, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. And of course, I love reading your comments, so leave a comment. Until next time, happy cruising. I'll see you soon. Peace.